Hi, I'm Dr. Melissa Lane. I have a PhD in geology and planetary science. I grew up in Lancaster County and was a Girl Scout, and I went to both high school and college here in Lancaster County. I then left the state for 20 years to pursue a PhD in geology in Arizona and to also do a postdoc at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. After that, I moved back to Arizona to work at the Planetary Science Institute for many years. In 2010, I moved back to Lancaster County, where I am a senior scientist and an independent researcher and also a subject matter expert for NASA. I do remote sensing to understand the geology of planets and moons, and that means that we can't actually go there, but we take data from those surfaces and we interpret it and to understand those planetary bodies. A lot of geologists that do planetary science use images to understand what the planets look like and what that means for the geology. But I use a technique called thermal emission spectroscopy, which basically means that you're measuring the heat that comes off the surface of the planet to understand the geology. On the Earth, common minerals like calcite and quartz have very different thermal emission spectra, and they can be used like fingerprints to interpret the minerals that you're looking at. And every mineral has a different composition and looks different spectrally. So I'm using that technique to interpret data from Mars to try to understand the geology up there. I worked with Mars Global Surveyor and Mars Odyssey data and some rover data too. I was able to be on a team that interpreted the spectra from Mars to understand that there's gray hematite on the surface in one concentrated area on Mars. And that tells us, because on Earth hematite forms in water, that there must have been a lot of water on Mars in that particular area. It was so interesting that NASA landed the Opportunity rover at that location. I've also been able to interpret data and find out there are a lot of iron sulfates on Mars, which is also interesting because on Earth iron sulfates form in very acidic waters. Throughout my career, I've been able to do a lot of fun things, like when I was at Johnson Space Center, I was interviewed for a week-long interview to become an astronaut. I didn't get the job, but the interview was really fun and I met a lot of great people. I've also been able to spend 2 months in Antarctica living in a tent collecting meteorites for the Smithsonian Institution. I've also been an FAA medical test subject, and I was in a human centrifuge to try to help the FAA determine what requirements are needed for people who want to travel to space as space tourists. And that human centrifuge is located in Southampton, Pennsylvania. I've also been doing a lot of laboratory work to understand really what minerals look like when they're really, really fine-grained, because a lot of surfaces like the moon and asteroids are covered in a very fine dust, so I'm doing research to understand that. And part of that project also is taking me out to Arizona again next month to do some field work, where we're taking a rover from the Carnegie Mellon Institution, which is another school in Western Pennsylvania. So through my career, I've had a lot of fun things that I've been able to do, and I get to continue doing my research now from my home office. So I hope I've encouraged you into a STEM career. I think the future of STEM for girls and women is looking really good. There are more girls enrolled in college now than boys, so I think the future looks great. And I would encourage all of you to reach for the stars, both literally and figuratively. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lauren Forster. I'm an Environmental Education Specialist Supervisor with the Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. I work within the Bureau of State Parks at Jacobsburg Environmental Education Center in Northampton County. I studied environmental science at Juniata College and then went on to get my master's in environmental education from the Audubon Expedition Institute at Lesley University. I believe the future of STEM is diverse and involves engaging young people in science, technology, engineering, and math from a very early point in their education. My job is exciting because I get to be outside a lot. I get to be in the creeks, in the rivers, in the forest, in the fields, helping my visitors and my students engage with the natural world, observe wildlife, and learn science through hands-on experiences.
My name is Rebecca Bowen, and I am an Ecological Operations Manager with the Bureau of Forestry in the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources in Pennsylvania, and I live in Cumberland County. My educational background includes biology and ecology. I have a bachelor's degree in biology from Frostburg State University of Maryland and a master's in ecology from Shippensburg University in Pennsylvania. I think the future of STEM is going to be very important. I think it will be necessary to solve problems and answer questions that are facing us now. There are ecological issues that are not going away: carbon sequestration and storage, mitigation of climate effects, forestry and wildlife management, careful use of our natural resources, protecting endangered species, maintaining clean water and air sources for ourselves and our future generations are just a few. And it's important to research these issues. STEM studies like population genetics of wildlife and native wild plants, interactions of species and their ecosystems, investigating pest and invasive species management options, alternative fuel sources, all these things will be important. I think my job is exciting and interesting, and the reason why I work there is because I feel like it makes a difference. My job is far-reaching. I get to plan and carry out programs and policies that have an impact on the ecology of 2.2 million acres of state forest land. And not just that, the impact that my position has includes the protection and conservation of native wild plants across all of Pennsylvania, not just on state forest land. These programs help protect endangered species and help further research projects that study the questions facing wildlife and native wild plants. So I feel like I get to really make a difference, which is really what matters to me.
My name is Stacey Pagan. I'm an IT project manager at UPMC, and I live in Dauphin County. My educational background started at Coppin State University, where I earned a bachelor's degree in general science with a biology emphasis. I also earned a master's in arts and teaching from Johns Hopkins University and a master's in educational leadership from York College of Pennsylvania. Now, those last two degrees may not sound like STEM degrees, but I like to say that my career journey has been navigated by a special GPS that I like to call God's positioning system. I started my professional career as an elementary school teacher, where I had the opportunity to pilot a lot of technology in the classroom and expose young children to STEM opportunities. I then became an assistant principal. My strong educational background paved the way for me to transition into an IT career within the health organization field as an EPIC trainer. EPIC is an electronic medical record system that you may be familiar with. It's the system that all of a patient's information is used to store and house, whether they are in a practice that they're doing a regular well visit for, or if they have to do a hospital emergency or a specialist visit. One patient, one chart brings all of the technology together. Building relationships throughout the organization as an EPIC trainer and collaborating and networking opened the door for me to become an IT project manager. My job now is very exciting. As a project manager, I'm responsible for overseeing a considerable spectrum of projects that are advancing technology in the health organization field that help to improve efficiency and quality of care that we provide for our customers and patients throughout the community. It may not be patient-facing or seen in the forefront, but knowing that I'm helping behind the scenes to make a difference in the lives of others is very rewarding. Now, what does the future of STEM look like? Hopefully, it looks like you. The future of STEM will be full of exhilarating job opportunities that still are yet to be discovered. The more diversity and inclusion that is seen within the STEM field, the more we get women involved, the more exploration and inspections and discoveries, we will see breakthroughs, inventions, and we will be able to go higher and higher throughout our societies. So I like to encourage you to dream big, and remember, change is the new normal. Thank you for allowing me to share my career.